So one of my subscribers asked one of the simplest but most powerful questions around the 401k. This question prompted me to do research and realize the biggest problem and biggest inefficiency of the 401k. How big is this problem? How good was this question? To the tune of $1.65 trillion, or the equivalent of 30 million American workers. I'm gonna give you context on that in a minute. So this question is coming from my subscriber and my pioneer, Digital Boy 2245. He asked me in my previous 401k video, question, what if you work at a job and when you were there, you were putting money in your 401k and you quit working there for a few years ago? Does that money disappear? So essentially, he worked at a job for a specific amount of time, contributed to a 401k, and left that job a few years back. He wants to know, does that money just disappear? What happens to that money? Prompted me to do some research. I had the answer to that question already, but I decided instead of just shooting a raw video with my natural response to it, let me do some research and see, because I know this is a question that many people out there have. But when I did a little bit of research, the potential of how many people had that question astounded me. So one of the most prominent articles or basic research that was done covered by Morningstar, I'll probably leave the link to this in the description since I'm not editing this video and putting it on the screen. I did some research, and what they basically said at Morningstar, or how it was covered, some research has been done and there's estimations that between 401ks, and this may also include 403bs, but specifically 401ks, somewhere between $1.65 trillion is sitting abandoned in old accounts, representing the savings of 30 million workers in the United States. That is insane. So this question is simple as it is, and some of you may be watching this video thinking this is a no-brainer, but you see the gravity of this question. This is something that millions of Americans don't understand, don't know, and apparently aren't doing a hell of a lot of research to figure out. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna provide you 4 options when you quit your job or leave a job behind. You have 4 options, and we're gonna rank those options from worst to best to give context on answering this question and to give context to how to make sure your 401k actually works for you long term. So the 4 major options that you're gonna have when you are leaving your employer. Number 1, which is gonna be the absolute worst, is to completely leave that 401k behind unattended. That is the absolute worst case scenario that you have, is to leave that 401k behind. Apparently, 30 million people, or the equivalent savings of 30 million people, shows that that's what people are doing. That's the option that people are picking. So that one is out. That one is absolutely the worst option. The next, third on the list, we'll call it, or third ranked on this list, the next option you have is to cash it out. This means that you are no longer going to invest in it. You've left that job, and your option now is to cash it out. If you're under 59 and a half, you can expect significant taxes and penalties for doing this. Now, why is this not the absolute worst option in the world than maybe even leaving it? Because you may be in a financial situation where you need that money. It could make the difference between you going into some other more expensive form of debt. There's other scenarios and reasons, case by case, that can make cashing your 401k out an option on the table. And potentially, if it's a legitimate documented emergency, you might be able to navigate this in a way with the IRS where it can be a hardship type of withdrawal situation or an emergency scenario. It's possible. It's not guaranteed, but it's possible. So this is the third option of the 4, and it is the third worst of the 4, which is to cash it out. Your next option is going to be to take this and roll it into an IRA at a brokerage or financial institution, or a broker or a financial institution. So this number 2 option is basically where you go, you work with your previous employer, the HR department, get connected with that department, and they get connected with the custodian, which is the existing investment firm that is holding your 401k account, because it's not necessarily your employer. Your employer is going to be partnered with a Vanguard, a Fidelity, etc. Get in touch with them, and then you roll it over to a new financial institution or a new custodian, right? So that could be your financial institution. It can be like a Bank of America or a Chase Bank that might have an investment firm connected to it, or it can be like Charles Schwab, where there's predominantly an investment firm, whatever the case may be, but you roll it into either a Roth or a traditional IRA, likely going to be in alignment with the type of 401k you have. So if you have a traditional 401k, you're likely going to roll it to a traditional IRA, and vice versa with a Roth 401k to a Roth IRA. There's some nuances to that I'm not going to dig into right now, but essentially you're going to roll from that 401k plan into investing on your own. You're going to set up that account. It's going to go basically on your benefit to the custodian that you're rolling it over to. And that's going to allow you to basically take over that investment yourself and work with the institution that you're rolling it over to. They'll likely provide you a financial professional that's going to guide you in your options or helping you set it up. Okay, so it's pretty much being handled by professionals. Now, why is this number 2 out of the 4 options? Why is it not number 1? Well, this is going to lead you to take control of that vehicle, or maybe work with a financial professional who will guide you if it's a significant enough money to have that firm, provide you a financial professional. A lot of times it has to be enough money for them to go as far as providing you somebody that can provide guidance. If it's too minuscule of an amount, they'll probably just offer you an online platform to roll that money on into, and probably not give you, the same privilege of having a financial advisor or a financial professional guide you in that process. That's likely the case. But if it's a significant enough amount of money, usually somewhere in the 5 figures, they'll probably employ somebody to help you out with it. You're likely going to be making your own decisions with that investment, or, essentially be making your own decision with the guidance of a financial professional. You're not going to get an employer match. And depending on how you go about it, you may not pick the best investments. You're going to either pick something equivalent to what your 401k could have been in already, which is some big broad basket of, mutual funds, ETFs, or index funds, or you're going to maybe try to get a little saucy and go try to do some kind of individual stock investing or whatever the case may be. In this case, your likelihood of outperforming what your 401k would do may not be that high, depending on your financial savvy or the guidance that you're being provided by that financial professional. The next thing, as I just mentioned, that makes it the biggest thing is you're not going to continue to get 3, 5, 7, sometimes even up to 10% employer match if you're still in those working years and you're under the age of 59 and a half. Okay, so that makes this the number 2 out of the 4 options, okay, that you have. So just a quick recap: you can leave it where it is, cash it out, or you can roll it into to an IRA at another financial institution. Okay, the number 1 option on the table, if you are still in your working years, is to roll it over to your next employer. Hopefully you are at a point in your career where you're working for quality employers that are offering the 401k with a reasonable match. This should be something you should be targeting when you are picking your employers. You should not be hopefully you're not at a stage or in a situation where you're working for some Joe Blow employer that is not providing you, reasonable benefits like retirement plans, like a 401k, and some decent benefits and time off, etc. Hopefully, if you're in your 30s and beyond, you are working for a reasonable employer that is offering you these things, okay? Rolling it over to your new 401k plan allows you to continue to benefit from 401k benefits. That means it's going to be invested for you. It's going to continue to perform at a reasonable rate, likely, and you're going to get the biggest benefit, which is going to be the employer match. I'm going to shoot a totally separate video going into the benefits, including the employer match, beyond the video I already shot of my 4 favorite benefits. It's going to give you the context as to why this is still so powerful if you're still in your working years. Getting the 401k match and continuing to get the tax deferred benefits and continuing to get invested in reasonable baskets of stocks or mutual funds or ETFs, etc. Or if you're working for a decent enough company, you might be also getting a part of that 401k may be invested in just the stock of the company you're working for. So that is the number 1 option that you're looking at. To answer my guy's question, Digital Boy, in particular, this video was really wrapped up around your question. You absolutely need to go back and check with any previous employer or employers. This is the number 1 killer of the success of 401k's in a nutshell, period. The lack of control, the potential fees, the investment performance, none of these things will add up to leaving it behind, completely underperforming, or cashing it out and killing your opportunity costs, or creating a massive opportunity cost by not keeping it invested in a 401k, or at least rolling it over into some other IRA and then continuing and investing in the markets yourself. That is the number one killer, clearly to the tune of over $1.5 trillion potentially, and up to, again, nearly 30 million or 30 plus million workers. It's insane numbers. There's no way any fee, any investment, lack of investment performance is going to make up for the fact that just flat out not invested at all, period. So that is the number one killer of the 401k, is the fact that the majority of American workers are clearly leaving them behind and have no idea that it's still there and still accessible to them to continue to be one of their top financial assets in retirement vehicles. Comment down below. Let me know if you've ever had a 401k, where you're at with your 401k, if you still have one. Have you ever left one behind? And if not, have you ever rolled one over and continued to see the benefits? Comment down below around this topic. This is insane news, to be honest, because the 401k outside of residential primary residences is really like the number one retirement vehicle most people rely on. And clearly people are fumbling the bag because they're going over to employer, starting over. This is JP from Blueprint for Prosperity Network, signing out, helping you to craft, master relationship banking and maximize your borrowing capacity so you can customize your own blueprint for prosperity. To all my pioneers out there, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. The link's in the description below to follow me on Instagram. I'm going to make sure that information is down below so we can continue to grow out this community, this committee of pioneers on another platform. Other than that, I want you to like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel so the channel can continue to reinvest and support back into you. I want each and every one of you to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.